Flowers surrounded her. Quetzal feathers crowned her. She ruled beauty, pleasure, desire, and the arts that transformed ordinary thread into objects of status and sacred meaning. Most modern descriptions reduce Xochiquetzal to the Aztec goddess of love and beauty. Some even call her the Aztec Aphrodite. That comparison is useful for a moment, and then it begins to hide more than it reveals. Xochiquetzal belonged to the religious worlds of the Mexica and other Nahua peoples, where flowers, sexuality, weaving, fertility, rain, ritual performance, and artistic creation could overlap inside the same divine figure. Her stories also reveal something darker. Beauty could inspire creation, but it could also be guarded, desired, stolen, and pulled into conflicts between powerful gods. Welcome to Gods and Heroes Unveiled. This is the story of Xochiquetzal, the flower quetzal goddess whose beauty was not passive, but creative, sacred, and dangerous. A name made of flowers and feathers. Her name joins Xochitl, the Nahuatl word for flower, with quetzali, the precious feathers associated with the quetzal bird and with extraordinary value. The combination was not merely decorative. A flower suggested fragrance, color, youth, and the brief perfection of something in bloom. Quetzal feathers suggested rarity, brilliance, and prestige. Surviving museum descriptions usually present Xochiquetzal as a beautiful young woman, richly dressed and adorned with flowers, jewelry, and a headdress marked by quetzal feathers. One Mexica figurine preserved by Mexico's National Institute of Anthropology and History even shows her carrying a flower in her hand. Her appearance therefore communicated more than attractiveness. It joined the beauty of the living world with the skill and wealth required to turn natural materials into art. More than a goddess of beauty, Nahuatl sources associate Xochiquetzal with flowers, sexual love, and beauty, and also describe her as a maiden. The language is important. She represents youthful attraction and pleasure, not only marriage or motherhood. This does not mean that fertility was absent from her identity. Archaeological and historical studies also connect her with fertility and maternity. But those roles overlapped with other goddesses, especially Tlaxcalan, rather than belonging to Xochiquetzal alone. The safest way to understand her is not as the goddess of one narrow department, but as a divine presence wherever life became attractive, creative, fertile, or ready to bloom. In her world, beauty was not an empty surface. It was evidence that life, desire, and creation were active, beauty made by hand. Xochiquetzal was also remembered as a patroness of weavers, textile workers, artists, and those who created ornament. That role changes the meaning of her beauty. A woven garment does not simply appear. Cotton must be prepared, thread must be spun, colors must be chosen, and patterns must be built one line at a time. At Tezcatlipoca, archaeologists found hundreds of spindle whorls connected with textile production near offerings associated with feminine ritual life. The same site preserves imagery linked by researchers to Xochiquetzal and Tlaxcalan. The connection is powerful. Xochiquetzal did not merely possess beauty. She represented the knowledge required to make beauty visible. A flower blooms through nature. A patterned cloth blooms through human skill. Under Xochiquetzal, both could belong to the same sacred process, the flowering world. Flowers are beautiful because they bloom, but their bloom also announces that a plant has entered a new stage of life. Beauty and fertility are therefore not separate ideas. For Nahua communities, gods did not always possess clean boundaries. Rain, earth, flowers, birth, pleasure, and textile work could form a network of forces that supported one another. This helps explain why Xochiquetzal could be connected with love and ornament in one context, then with maternity, rainmaking, or agricultural abundance in another. Her many roles are not evidence that the tradition was confused. They show a different way of organizing the sacred world, through relationships and transformations rather than isolated categories. The goddess in ritual life. Xochiquetzal was not confined to distant mythology. Her name and identity also entered ritual performance. In the festival of Tlaxcalan, for women were prepared to accompany the human representative of Tezcatlipoca near the end of his ritual year. Each bore the name of a goddess, and one was called Xochiquetzal. The detail is brief, but it matters. A deity could be made present through costume, flowers, feathers, music, movement, and a living human body. For the people who watched these ceremonies, Xochiquetzal was not only a character in an old story. She was a force that could be embodied before the community. The Paradise of Tlaloc. One Tlaxcalan tradition places Xochiquetzal in a paradisiacal realm associated with Tlaloc, the ancient god of rain, mountains, and the waters that made crops grow. This world was imagined as a place of abundance: green maize, beans, amaranth, chiles, tomatoes, water, and flowers. In that setting, a flower goddess belonged naturally beside the power of rain. The account describes Xochiquetzal as the wife of Tlaloc and presents her as protected within a place of pleasure and flowering life. But this is not a single universal biography accepted by every Nahua community. It is one regional tradition preserved after the conquest, and it must be told with that limit clearly stated. Even so, the pairing makes symbolic sense. Tlaloc brings the water. Xochiquetzal represents the beauty and fertility that rise when the water reaches the earth. Tezcatlipoca steals the flower goddess. The peaceful image does not last. In the Tlaxcalan account, Tezcatlipoca takes Xochiquetzal away from Tlaloc. Tezcatlipoca was the smoking mirror, a god associated with night, conflict, change, temptation, rulership, and the instability of human fortune. His presence often transforms whatever appears secure. The surviving story describes the act as theft or abduction. It does not give us Xochiquetzal's voice, and it should not be rewritten as a simple romance in which she willingly leaves one god for another. Instead, the myth turns beauty into something contested. The flower goddess becomes part of a struggle involving rain, abundance, desire, and divine power. Other sources and communities organize these relationships differently. Some paired Xochiquetzal with other gods. Some emphasized her as a maiden. Others placed her inside different cycles of fertility and creation. That variation is not a problem to erase. It is part of the evidence. There was no single printed mythology book controlling every version across central Mexico. Why she was not the Aztec Aphrodite. Xochiquetzal and Aphrodite share obvious territory. Both are associated with beauty, attraction, pleasure, and the disruptive force of desire. But the comparison becomes misleading when it replaces Xochiquetzal's own world. Her identity is tied to quetzal feathers, flowers, textile production, rain-fed fertility, Nahua ritual, and Central Mexican ideas about divine forces that overlap and transform. Even the word Aztec is a modern umbrella. Xochiquetzal appears across Mexica, Tlaxcalan, and broader Nahua traditions that did not always tell the same stories in the same way. Calling her the Aztec Aphrodite may help a new viewer begin. Believing that the comparison explains everything would erase the culture that gave her meaning. Conclusion: the power to make the world bloom. Xochiquetzal was surrounded by flowers, precious feathers, woven patterns, music, pleasure, and the promise of new life. None of those symbols made her weak. They revealed a different form of divine power, the power to attract, inspire, create, renew, and transform ordinary materials into something people considered beautiful and sacred. Her beauty was not passive. It moved through nature, human desire, skilled hands, ritual performance, and stories in which even gods struggled to possess what she represented. Which part of Xochiquetzal's power matters most to you? Love, beauty, creativity, or renewal? Share your interpretation in the comments. Thank you for watching Gods and Heroes Unveiled. Like the video, share it with another mythology fan, and subscribe for more stories about the gods and heroes of the ancient world. Then continue with another story from the mythology of ancient Mexico on the end screen.